Thanks everyone for watching. So today for our developer Q&A session, we're inviting Sergey Nikitin to show us a bit about an app he built on our developer platform called SpellChecker, which is available on the Miro marketplace. Sergey is a front-end engineer working on our app deployment and adoption team, and we'll let him introduce himself now.
Yeah, thanks, Will. Hey, everyone. Yeah, sure. I'm front-end developer in Miro app deployment team, and I actually started like really recently, a couple of months ago, and at the end of 2022. So for me, developing some application on Miro platform was a good learning, because I basically had nothing to know about the Miro platform at all, and now I read a lot of documentation, and it was good experience for me. I think it was pretty much like that. Yeah, it's basically I keep preparing these boards for SpellChecker demos. It's not the first time already. So basically, the idea was pretty simple. We basically wanted to have some feature to check the spelling mistakes on the board, and it could also be not only on a whole board, because you can imagine many widgets on a board, and people collaborating each other. Nobody wants to interrupt someone, right? So the idea was to create different modes. So we quickly decided to go different modes, to run on selected elements, or on a board checks, in general, right? So after collaboration, after workshop session, we can do whole board checks, and while you are running and created content, you can just select some widgets and see if it's if there are some mistakes or spellings or something, and this is what you actually do. Basically you can select anything, for example, this app card, and you can instantly see the result on the spell checker output. You see, you can just zoom in to see the widget itself. It's pretty useful when you select the multiple objects, right? So you don't know what objects contain the spelling mistake, so you want to figure out what's going on here, right? And if you click on the title, you will see basically the widget on the board, and you can just scan through it, and if it's really a mistake or it's not. And you also can see some suggestions from our spelling engine, right? Like, for example, here we're missing E on trailing E, so we can select some, for example, and see how it's applied on the board immediately, right?
Awesome.
Yeah. Also with text, and recently, our web SDK team introduced the connectors. Now connectors are supported. We also added the functionality for connectors between elements, so you can do like that, and here do some texting, I don't know, some money again, and it should also be here, but no mistakes here, right? So it should be like that. Yeah, you see, it goes well. So I think almost all the text content on the board is supported now, so it's pretty much fun. And also on board checks, you can select all boards, so without any selections, you can see the list of spelling potential warnings, so you can quickly identify it and change it. Yeah, it's pretty much it for functionality. We also have this kind of language selection. So out of it, mostly all the languages that are supported by Miro as a whiteboard on the settings. You can change the UI on that on one of these languages. So it's basically we can update the list in the future maybe. But basically, it was a proof of concept at some point, right? Version 1, and we decided to go with a number of languages. It's pretty much. I can quickly just briefly go as a app architecture as well, if you want to.
Yeah, that'd be great. If we could just
Yep.
Walk us through a little bit of what services you used, and yeah.
Yeah. Sure. I will quickly switch sharing. La, la, la. Share my screen. And now it will be my IntelliJ IDEA. Okay. So if you see my screen, do you see?
Yep, 1 sec, it's still loading.
Okay. It's still loading.
Oh yeah, looks like it. Let's see. Maybe if you stop it and try again.
Yeah, I'll try it. Share your screen. Share your screen again.
Okay, there we go.
Yep. Actually, it's a pretty standard Spring Boot project. So it's backend written in Java, and in Java we have this. So we're deciding on the spelling engine because the core of the application is spelling engine, right? And basically we have some trade-offs, and also the the way, is it simple to integrate, is it cloud or self-hosted or something. It's a lot of back and forth in this. So we decided to go just with open source libraries, like it's called language tool for now. But we wrote a backend in a way that we can swap service real quick in the future. But for now it was one important requirement was to not to share personal data. On the board, all the text context could be personal data, right? It could be whatever. It could be even a credit card number, whatever. So for us, we wanted to play safe card and used this just a self-hosted tooling. So we do not integrate with any cloud providers. We do not share data. It's all on our backend, so we control it, right? And
awesome.
Language tool is a kind of open source library. You can Google it and try it out on your project. So it's pretty easy to integrate with Java projects. And on front end, I'm a front end developer, so I'm not really into Java. So on front end, let's say on front end, it's a typical React application, right? It's kind of a lot of components and some logics. If you're familiar with React, it's pretty much React application. So from interesting part, I think one interesting thing is that I created this hook. If you're familiar with React hooks, you pretty much know what it does, right? It's basically how I select get this fetch selected elements on the board, right? So it's initially on the uploading, we first get selection, and then we also subscribe on this selection update, right? So we always keep tracking of elements selected by a user, so we can easily just check the text content of that widgets, of a selected widgets, right? So
got it.
So it's pretty straightforward, but I think it's easy to see because you need to combine first manually fetch selection, and then also keep tracking events and just combine it some single entry point in your code.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think another thing is worth mentioning is how we run spell checking. We need to actually create a list of widgets with the text content, so we can send to backend, and backend can return it and return it with widget IDs, so we can map the spelling mistakes with spelling warnings with a particular widget on the board, right? And it was really tricky because of a lot of factors. One factor is that we have a difference. We have a text on the board, so every widget can have tag, right? And you cannot fetch both widget and text at the same time. So what you can do, you can fetch elements, like for example, let's say it's a selection of elements, right? You can fetch selection group, and then like just see every widget in a group has a tag IDs, right? So you can grab all the tag IDs and fetch these tags again. So that's why we have like two-step fetching process here before we run spell checking. First we run like filter. It could be either full board, right? We basically zero, nothing here, right? We will fetch all the board, or if it's in case of selection, it will be selection widget IDs what we want to fetch on the board, right? So it's a board items, and when we get content from that items with tag IDs, and just when we want to actually fetch tags as well. Here we run Miro board get twice, just to make sure we fetch both widgets and tags.
Yeah, I see. Because they're treated independently.
Yeah, right? Exactly. So it's a tag can be assigned on many widgets, right? So we do not in a single particular widget, we don't have the whole tag description. Like we only have tag ID. Like it's basically a tag which is assigned to that which is stick to that widget, right? So we need to combine all the tag IDs, and only when we can fetch, as the next iteration, we can fetch tags. So it was pretty tricky, I would say. It was really interesting to solve. First, and this idea came, to me when I was first presenting SpellChecker. I was like saying, so we do not support many widget types here, and in the meantime, when I just explaining this to the crowd, and I was like, we actually do, and we can do it. Like we just need to fetch it twice, like first widget and then text. And it was like somehow like flipped a switch in my head. It was like how we do it. Yeah. Yeah, it was funny. It was funny, but I have an excuse. I'm just a few months into Miro, so I was like, yeah. And
awesome.
Yeah, interesting. Like just as to add to this feature is that how we can extract the text content from widget, right? Because different types of widgets, we have different types of text content. If you can think about it like on a sticky note, we have a content field property of the object, right? For example, in app card, we have name and description properties, right? So it's different properties. So I had to created this this funny function, get content from the item, right? And depending on the item type, I extract I extract the content from the appropriate fields, right? Like for example, from a card is kind of title and description. From a text it's just a content. From a sticky note, it's a content as well. From a connector, it's a caption basically. So yeah, it's kind of adapters per widget type,
I see. Yep. Yeah, it makes sense. It's a bit of some organization that you have to do.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like it's nothing to do with inconsistency at all. It's like we have different widget types, and different widget types have different widget structure. Different object structure in the end in the code. So we have to deal with this and just just organize it properly and make sure you can identify the particular widget we are trying to check, and we are not messing up with the content of other widgets. So this basically like that.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah, I think it's almost all the usages of Miro SDK, Miro Web SDK here. I obviously have this. Let me see. So we also have this zoom to elements. So yeah, I just get element because basically in the spell checker results, it comes from a backend, and I don't have the full widget object. In the meantime, most of the web SDK API, like for example, zoom to function, accepts the whole widget, right? So I have to first fetch the element by ID and then zoom to it. So it's basically a little bit of a hassle, but still it's okay. It's fine. I think it's totally fine. And yeah, and of course we also make this replacement. Like when user accepts some suggestion from a spell checker, right? We need to update the text content. So we update the text content and synchronize with the widget on the board. Basically push the change, right? And yeah, it's pretty much it. Basically, I don't know.
No, this is great, Sergey. Thanks for walking us through the app and the code.
Sure.
I guess to kind of wrap up, if you had to give any advice to a new developer based on your experience building this first app, what would you say?
Yeah, I don't know, like start from something simple. I think yeah, first of all I would say that the communication developer portal, like keep improving every day. Like I'm just following it, and it's pretty cool that we are investing a lot in this, right? And it's pretty straightforward to start actually. And always create Miro app like boilerplate is pretty decent thingy, and it helped us a lot to start. Like just so I would say just start with get started guide on developer portal, right? And try just playing with it. Do not rush into the feature you want to implement. Just see how Miro Web SDK behaves. Like just try to get the element from the board, just try to change something, zoom to it, and you will quickly get comfortable in this environment, and then you can start like really ramping up in development of your application. So I would say it's like that.
I think that's excellent advice. Yeah, start off small, get comfortable,
absolutely.
and then expand.
Like start from
Awesome.
basics. Like it's crazy.
Yeah. Well, hey Sergey, thanks again for joining this developer Q&A session.
Yep.
This was great, and yeah, we'll see you around.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Will. And yeah, I think not the last time, because it's pretty. Yeah, I actually enjoyed the process, and I think we will invest in some more applications on the platform, because yeah. We see demand. We see not everything that can be covered with built-in features on a whiteboard, but in the meantime the ecosystem keep growing up, and I think yeah, we will also invest in some more applications here. So yeah, stay tuned. I would say like that. And see you around.
Awesome. Thank you, Sergey.